love the aesthetics of athletics, man. Man, do I love the aesthetics of athletics. What I don't like is I don't like the aesthetics of the National Football League. For better or for worse, for 6 and 7 years now, I've been telling you all about Roger Goodell. I told you 6 and 7 years ago where this league was headed. I told you 6 and 7 years ago what this man was all about. I told you that the NFL was headed in all the wrong ways, all the wrong directions, and that the league was being systematically overhauled by an absolute tyrant that serves as the league's commissioner, still to this day, almost remarkably, almost unbelievably, almost unfathomably so. Goodell serves as the NFL's commissioner. And I don't think that the league has ever bottomed out the way it's bottomed out right now, with what I consider to be the most asinine, stupid, irrelevant, non-existent story that is now on a par with the way that people are looking at it. I think someone wrote, in fact, it was Joe Posnanski, the writer and the author. You remember Joe Posnanski. The last time he was in the news is when he came out with the Joe Paterno book. He said the league now is taking something that is as meaningless as anything that you're going to think about, and it's now got all the seriousness of a military tribunal, according to Joe Posnanski. And, of course, I would agree wholeheartedly with Joe Posnanski. Balls. Air in balls. Yes. And the league has disgraced itself yet again. And this commissioner has once again shown that he is nothing more than a politically correct rogue, a draconian scarecrow, a man so far in over his head that it defies explanation and logic as to how this man ever ascended to the role that he currently serves in the first place. And that is as the National Football League's chief operating officer for all intents and purposes, the commissioner, the man whose name it pains me to say, Roger Goodell. Do you understand what we're talking about here when it comes to this whole Brady, Patriots, air in the football thing? Are you as knocked back on your heels as I am over the mass hysteria that has been cultivated ever since this thing became an issue? The faux outrage, the manufactured anger, the incredible suggestions of several that say that Tom Brady is his legacy has been harmed, and that his good standing now is going to be something that will be talked about forever, and even some going so far as to say that Tom Brady should not be eligible for the Hall of Fame, which is got to be probably the biggest crock of shit that one can think about. I got to tell you, it is it's a sad day. It's a sad last couple of days. It's become overly depressive as far as I'm concerned, especially when the news came out yesterday that the National Football League had incredibly determined through a report that is as full of holes, several contradictions, assumptions, that they have taken to the degree of severity in regard to the punishment, suspending, at least for the time being, Tom Brady for 4 games, fining the New England Patriots $1 million, and taking away draft picks in the process. A first-round pick, and I believe it was a 4th-round pick, is what it was. Can you believe this? If I had told you 10 years ago, what is it? It's May the 12th, 2015. On May the 12th, 2005, if I had told you all that the next 10 years would involve all the things that we've seen in the National Football League, and that the league would be in such a disjointed state of disrepair, as it has been, culminating with this embarrassing, pathetic sequence of events that once again has put the league within the crosshairs of exceptional scrutiny, negativity, condemnation, and a mainstream media contingent that has gone apoplectic in almost unthinkable and insane ways. If I told you that the culture of the National Football League would reside 10 years ago where it does today, that the atmosphere and the environment of the National Football League would be as it is presently constituted at this very time, would you have believed me? Because even if I had tried as hard as I could to convince myself, looking into a mirror, that the NFL would be as shipwrecked as it is right now, I wouldn't have believed myself. I wouldn't have believed it. Can you name for me one single courageous decision that Roger Goodell has made since he's been the NFL commissioner? Just one. If it pleases the court, I'd like to outline a few things here this evening, if that's okay. I will filibuster for a while here. I will tell you that now. It is my intention to filibuster. I will not yield the floor. I will not yield the floor. Roger Goodell, in 8 short years since he has become the commissioner of the National Football League, has willfully and systematically overhauled and completely torn the heart and the guts out of the once prestigious National Football League, rendering it to an almost impotent state as compared and contrasted with the way that the league used to look like, used to feel like, used to smell like, used to walk, used to taste like. I said to you years ago that we were on the verge every single day that passed of having a league in our midst that was, if you want to compare it to its former glory, in an unrecognizable state. An unrecognizable state. And I think I said when I was with you nationally on Sirius XM as little as a year or two before that relationship became one that was truncated, I did say that you ain't seen nothing yet. How many times did I tell you that? You ain't seen nothing yet with the NFL. And you certainly haven't. Because I'm here to tell you, you ain't, as long as this man remains the commissioner of this league, you again have not seen anything yet. As much as it's bottomed out today with a scandal, ridiculous in design, as long as this man stays in power, other shoes will drop. And the league's image and its perception from a public standpoint will continue to plummet. I don't recognize this league anymore. I haven't recognized this league for a while. But in the last 24 hours, with the rendering of a decision that was as wildly insane as it was draconian in nature, this league right now has arrived at a destination which I feel you can sum it up by saying it is a pathetic, embarrassing spectacle. The National Football League, a pathetic, embarrassing spectacle. I've had a lot of grievances with Roger Goodell over the years, obviously. But over the last 24 hours, I've thought about another grievance, and maybe this hits and strikes to the heart of what I'm talking about when it comes to Roger Goodell and why I find him to be such a distasteful individual on so many levels. He's not a man, you say. Not in my opinion, he's not. He's not a man. This man lacks the capacity and the wherewithal and the confidence and the assuredness to go into a room and to consider something before him and to utilize and apply common sense, logic, and reason in making a decision and moving forward in the best interests of the National Football League. And I ask you now, how has the latest, the stupidest and most asinine scandal in the NFL's history, how has this worked to the advantage of the National Football League? Where are the interests of the National Football League in this scandal? Now let's back up. Let's back up. I told you, I've said it on my national show on Yahoo Sports Radio. I've said it right here at this desk, right before this microphone. I've said to you on more than one occasion that common sense, wisdom, and an acute sense of instinct are not qualities that Roger Goodell possesses. Now, Roger Goodell's father was a politician. Roger Goodell himself is a politician. Politicians, most of them anyway, really favor channels of red tape, blue-collar commissions, different opinions and ideas, a ruling not so much independent and in the direction of what is going to serve constituencies the best, but to rule by consensus and to curry public favor and opinion based upon all the decisions that are made, or most of them anyway, and that's what we've had happen here. In this case here, Goodell, in my opinion, has come off like the biggest yellow-bellied coward I've ever seen in my life in regard to the way, much like the new NBA commissioner, Adam Silver, handed Donald Sterling over to the masses, the pitchfork-wielding mob, in order to curry favor with the public and to show how sensitive he was. The same thing is identically applicable here with Roger Goodell in the decision that he made, which is as laughable and insane as anything I've ever seen, as anything I think many of you have ever seen, when you consider just what we're dealing with here. Just what is it we're dealing with here? I said to you weeks ago that with all of the raging infernos that encircle the commissioner's office, with all of the infernos and the fires and the bombs and the shoes falling all at once in the National Football League, which have increased with regularity over the last little while, that he's got brush fires all around him. He's dealing with a league that has really lost its conscience. He's dealing with a league that is so misdirected. It's come off the rails. It's a league that's lost its soul. It's a league that has forgotten what it is all about, which is objective number one, to provide the best football for the public that consumes the product. And even in that vein, the product is as shitty and is as watered down and is as uninteresting as it's ever been. Don't give me this bullshit, by the way, please. Don't give me this bullshit about, well, people are still going to watch. Well, what other fucking choice do you have? I mean, if you want to see a semblance of football, some kind of football, other than the college game on Saturday, which is eclipsed, in my opinion, the NFL game on Sunday, where in the fuck are you supposed to go to watch pro football? It's the only game in town. It's a monopoly, is what it is. Where are you going to go? And that's missing the point entirely. Oh, Dino, you talk about the play on the field and the product has never sucked as much as it does right now. That's true, right? You talk, Dino, about how they've exterminated a position on the field that used to be known as the NFL running back. Well, that's true. You complain about the lack of flow in the game. Well, that's true. You talk about a lack of balance in the game. Well, that's true. You talk about the NFL, all they want is points, 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 and more points. Well, that's true. You talk about the fact you can't hit anybody anymore. That's true. You get a flag if you hit somebody. It doesn't matter if it's legal or not. If the hit is too hard, there's a penalty. That's true. You talk, about the emasculation of fundamental defense that has been played for decade after decade. They've eradicated that. Well, that's true. It's all true. All of it is true. And then you say, well, people are still going to watch. Of course they're still going to watch. Where the hell else are they going to go? After church on Sunday, what are you going to do on a Sunday afternoon? In the fall, in the wintertime? You're going to watch football. And that's besides the point, because you're missing the point. And the point is that the NFL's dead. It's dead. It's dead. It's deader than dead is what it is. It's dead. You sons of bitches. Now listen to me. It's dead. Mr. Commissioner, we have something here that we think you need to hear about. Yes, what is it? Well, we heard that the New England Patriots might be having a little less air in their footballs than some other guys who have got actually more air in their footballs than we recommend. And heading into this AFC Championship game against the Colts this Sunday in Foxborough, Massachusetts, the Indianapolis Colts, through their general manager, Ryan Grigson, have tipped us off to this. What do you think we should do, sir? Now, take a little bit of street smarts, common sense, instinct, and what's best for the National Football League. What is best for the National Football League? And what's best for the National Football League is for Roger Goodell to sit back in his chair and think to himself and say out loud to whomever is bringing him this report, gentlemen, listen to me now. Our league is on fire. I'm on fire. I'm dead commissioner walking to a lot of people. My approval rating is lower than Obama's. All right? I've had a tough last year in office here. All right? We're talking about footballs that are a little underinflated. Get Ryan Grigson, the Colts general manager, on the phone with me right now. Ryan Grigson, Roger Goodell, how you doing? Good, Mr. Commissioner. How are you? Good. Listen, first and foremost, best of luck in the upcoming AFC Championship game in Foxborough. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be in the stands. I'm going to be, they're going to show me in the stands, CBS cameras, as a man of the people, coming off of all of the ridiculous ways I've handled so many decisions over the last couple of years. I'm going to be grandstanding in the stands with the people. Okay, so we got that out of the way. Best of luck this weekend. Second of all, I'm in receipt of your grievance. I want you to know I'm on top of it. I'm going to call Robert Kraft as soon as I get off the phone with you. I'm on this. I don't want you to worry about it, okay? It stays right here. These horses, they don't get out of the barn. You mention anything to anybody about this, I'll find your fucking ass quicker than you can say Indianapolis Colts. You got that? Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. We just wanted you to have a heads up on this. Thank you, Mr. Grigson. Betty, Wilma, get me Bob Kraft on the phone now. Talk to that son bitch. Used to be my friend. Ain't my friend anymore. Bob Kraft here. Bob, it's Roger. How you doing, Commissioner? Good. Listen, I want you to know, got a call. Colts, first and foremost, Bob, best of luck coming up in the title game this Sunday. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. What'd you hear about from the Colts? Colts say that there's a little bit less football in the balls that Brady's using on the field. I don't know anything about this. It has nothing to do with the game, really. I mean, come on now. Here's the thing, though, Bob. We're going to be checking this out on Sunday, okay? We're going to be weighing the footballs, checking them out. Tell Tom we're going to do this. I want you guys to be on high alert. This is what's going on. And that's it, okay? Good luck. Don't let this horse out of the barn. Nobody needs to know about this. That's it. Folks, with that kind of an approach to this whole issue, there ain't no DeflateGate. There ain't no DeflateGate. There's no tribunal, okay? There's no outrage. There's no manufactured anger. There's no 4-game suspension. There's no $1 million fine. There's not taking away draft picks. And best of all, the National Football League is what? Kept out of fucking harm's way. For once, kept out of harm's way. Kept out of harm's way. Why? Because as the commissioner of the National Football League, I must make independent decisions that are, you think Rozelle would have done what Goodell did? You think Tagliabue would have done what Goodell did? Hell no. Why? Because they recognize that as the commissioner, the leader, the rock of the league, now you got to make decisions that are in the best interest of the NFL. And in the best interest of the fucking NFL doesn't mean that you operate a sting going into the AFC title game, and you make a big fucking deal about balls. Oh! Sons of bitches, you. You need a recoordination of your brains. You really do. You need a recoordination of your brains. And so there is no scandal. There's no scandal. Listen, the NFL don't give a fuck about ball air in footballs. The NFL's never cared about this. Never cared about it. Nor should they. Nor should they. And by the way, let's get this out of the way right now. If Tom Brady had something to do with directly telling this McNally character to take air out of the footballs, if, and it ain't never been proven, if, there ain't no text, there ain't no phone call, ain't no email, nothing, which indicates that Brady sent a message verbally or electronically or otherwise with a fucking carrier pigeon coming across the field to tell McNally, hey, make the balls 12 point something, whatever, PSI. But if he did, and if Brady, listen, if McNally on his own decided that he knows that Tommy Brady likes a little bit of a softer football than a harder football like Aaron Rodgers likes, Aaron Rodgers likes to throw blimps. He likes to throw footballs that are overinflated. Not Tom Brady. Peyton Manning, I can't tell you what kind of ball he likes. Drew Brees, same thing, I can't tell you. Geno Smith, I have no idea. Andy Dalton, I don't have any idea. Phillip Rivers, I don't have any idea. I don't got any. Matt Stafford, not only do I not have any idea, I don't give a shit. And the NFL really doesn't give a shit. You understand? They don't care. And if Brady was involved in this, he's only quarterback 935 in the league's history who has done something to custom tailor the ball to his liking. Some of you are operating, seemingly believing that your team never is cheated. You're as ignorant and as stupid and as foolish as anything that you can describe if you truly believe that. If you truly believe that. Oh, give me my NFL back that I bathed in luxuriously in years gone by. Give me it back. I want it back. Where guys could slobber knock the fuck out of one another. Men played the game. Nobody fucking complained. And if you could gain an edge competitively, do it. Do it. I want my team to win. Win. The name of the game is winning. Hey, fucking Don Shula, this piece of shit down in Miami last week, piping off before the fucking draconian penalty against the Patriots. And what did Shula say? What did he say? Oh, you know, when I ran the Baltimore Colts and the Miami Dolphins, we did things with class, and we never looked to get a competitive advantage that was against the rule. Shut the fuck up. Maybe for the 99.9% of the rest of the sports media, you can fly that jive by them. That dog won't hunt with me, Don Shula. Why? Because I know, you motherfucker, that you advanced the Miami Dolphins in the 1982 championship game, getting to the Super Bowl against the New York Jets. And if there had been Twitter, all kinds of social media platforms, eyes in the sky and cameras everywhere, and every piece of news going viral like that at a moment's notice, you know what you would have been involved with, Don? It would have been called Tarpgate. You fuck. A monsoon hit South Florida the night before the Jets and the Dolphins 82 championship game. And what did Shula do? Knowing the Jets were fast as fuck that year, a greased lightning offense, he left the tarp off the field of the Orange Bowl purposely, and the next day when the team showed up, the field was a fucking quagmire. The Jets or the Dolphins couldn't move. But the fact of the matter is that it hurt the Jets a hell of a lot more than it hurt the Dolphins. So what did Shula do? Did he gain a competitive advantage? Did he disregard the NFL rules? The fuck he did, yeah. Did he pay for it? No. The motherfucker went to the Super Bowl with David Woodley that year. Don't you tell me, Don, about how squeaky fucking clean you are. Please. Because in your era of NFL football, even before you coached the Dolphins, going back to your days with the Baltimore Colts, everybody was looking for a little thing that was going to make them a little bit better every Sunday. Guys would show up with broken arms or alleged broken arms with plaster casts on their forearms. Are you kidding me? smacking guys around. Are you crazy, you people? What has happened to this society? Let me ask you that. What did Goodell do? What did he do? He drove another nail into the NFL's coffin in the last couple of days is what he did. Drove another nail into the NFL's coffin. NFL don't give a fuck about airing footballs, folks. They never have. They never will. Balls have been baked on the sidelines by kickers and punters. Okay, don't give me that shit, please. You want to go back to the 82 season that I just referenced a second ago? You want to talk about the Patriots? And you remember the guy this was at the old Schaefer Stadium, Foxborough Stadium, before they moved into the new one? You remember the guy comes out with a tractor and clears the little path out on the field, that frozen fucking game they played against the Dolphins, and John Smith kicked the field goal that won the game for the Patriots? Don't give me that shit. Teams have been taping other teams' sidelines forever. Teams have been taking copious notes about other teams forever, looking for consistencies in what they do on the sideline, which then signal that they're going to do something in a game. It's called gamesmanship. It's called trying to gain an edge. Give me a fucking break. It's not like the Patriots have a 90-yard field, that's only 45 yards wide versus 100-yard fields, 55 yards wide with every other franchise in the NFL. It's not like the Patriots somehow are sneaking a 12th man onto the field every play on offense and defense, or any other team is doing this. Get a fucking grip. Gain some fucking perspective and context. And I don't give a shit if it was Brady, Ryan Tannehill, Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, Tony Romo, Colin Kaepernick, Matthew Stafford, Teddy Bridgewater, Tim fucking Tebow, Andy Dalton. I'd be defending each of those guys the same way I'm defending Brady and the Patriots right now. This thing sickens me. It sickens me, the way that the NFL went about this whole thing. Air in the footballs. Give me a break. To say nothing of the fact that there was balls on the Colts sideline during the same game which did not have the recommended PSI. If any, and by the way, the balls that Luck used in that game had air over the PSI limit. Remarkable the way that the public and the media and so many of you have reacted to this story. Holy shit. Poznansky wrote a terrific piece on NBCSports.com. And I got to tell you, it really hit the nail firmly on the head. Firmly on the head. I mean, you want to talk about reason, sanity. Poznansky had plenty of that in his piece, which I'm going to get to here. I will get to it. This guy's out of control. This guy's got to go. And by the way, what is this bullshit about allowing the Wells report to be the judge, the jury, and the ultimate executioner when it comes to one of the greatest players ever to grace any NFL playing field in any year at any time? If I'm Roger Goodell and the Wells report containing, and I read every fucking word of the Wells report, unlike a lot of people, okay? If I'm Goodell and I'm in receipt of that damn report and I look this damn thing over and the Wells guy's in front of me, I say a couple things to him. I say to him, number one, well, I've read this. Do we got him? Do we have him? Absolutely and positively, do we have him? Definitively, without any question, do we have him? If Wells says anything other than, Mr. Commissioner, we have him dead to rights, it's indisputable proof. We have 17 different things linking him to this, including text messages where he said, make sure the footballs are at this, wait for me. Fine, then we may move forward. And still then I think it's a crock of shit. Okay? But we're not talking about Ray Lucas here. We're not talking about Gifford Nielsen here. All right? Okay? We're talking about one of the great all-time players in NFL history, and as the commissioner of this league, I am not prepared based upon we think and probably to then go ahead and smear one of the great players in NFL history and come down with sanctions that are almost that are as insane as anything I've ever seen. What the Wells report should have said to Roger Goodell was the following: Mr. Commissioner, after months of investigating eyewitness accounts, countless paragraphs of testimony, and so on and so forth, we have concluded in summation at the end that we have information, but nothing of definitive nature, and therefore we don't think it's prudent to go ahead and suspend or levy any kind of sanctions on anyone based upon the fact that basically, in the end, this is an incomplete report, and it is much as we can unearth at this time, and that's it. That's what he should have. That's what the Wells people should have said to Goodell, and Goodell should have said, "Fine, let's drop this. I'm going to fine Brady $25,000. Let's fucking move on here." Okay, what are we talking about here? We're talking about killing people in the middle of the field? No, we're talking about a football that was barely underinflated. Barely underinflated. That's what we're talking about here. That's what Goodell should have said. But you know what Goodell did? The coward, the politician that he is. Okay? He's not a man. All right? What he did was he allowed the Wells report to be judge, jury, and executioner. Put it out for public consumption. Finger in the air. Shortly thereafter, which way is the wind blowing here? Where's the public sentiment? What's the media saying? Okay, fine. I got a good read. Now I'm going to give him a suspension, $1 million fine, take away 2 draft picks. That's what he did. Because he's a coward. He's not a man. He doesn't possess the leadership qualities that allow him to assuredly make independent decisions with common sense and reason that are in the better interest of the National Football League moving forward, especially in light of everything that's been going around and swirling around the NFL for years and years now. He doesn't have that. He doesn't have that kind of wherewithal. He doesn't have that kind of confidence. So what he did was he just gave Brady over to everybody, and now the feeding frenzy is on. But not with everybody. Not with everybody. Sunday night, right behind this microphone, in this very studio, Yahoo Sports Radio. Sean Salisbury, former quarterback in the league for a good 8-9 years, was blown away by this. Was blown away by it. I asked Sean Salisbury on Sunday on my Yahoo Sports Radio show. I said, Sean, if I had in my right hand the football that Tom Brady used in the AFC Championship game, and in my left hand I held the football that Andrew Luck used in the AFC Championship game, would there be a discernible, almost instantaneous difference that I could feel with each football that were in my hands? And Sean Salisbury, who played quarterback in the league, handled a few footballs in his time, said absolutely and positively not. Absolutely and positively not. Poznansky, first name Joe, author, columnist, likened this DeflateGate to those of you who lived through it with me and were there. I was watching the game as it was going on at the time. The 1983 game in the middle of the summer at Yankee Stadium in New York between the Royals and the Yankees, when Brett came up and put a bomb into the right field upper deck at Yankee Stadium to give the Royals a lead. Hit a 95-mile-an-hour Goose Gossage fastball. I think it's still going. And what happened? Billy Martin came out, knew that the pine tar was up the bat, and on a technicality somehow got the home plate umpire to call Brett out. And you've seen the replay over the years of Brett going, absolutely maniacal with rage. Okay. And what did the commissioner of the sport do at that point? They rectified the situation. They said, listen, come on, are you kidding me? Please stop with this shit. They picked up the game weeks later from the moment after Brett hit the home run. The Royals went on to win the game, and that was that. And that was that. And he said this is the equivalent of the George Brett baseball game, is what Joe Poznansky wrote. And he wrote a number of other things that I have addressed previously on this show, echoing my sentiments on so many things that he wrote in this piece. Wake me when it's over. Oh, for Pete's sake, are we still talking about deflated footballs? Poznansky writes, okay, do you remember how George Brett responded when he was called out after umpires determined that he hit a home run with a bat that had too much pine tar? Of course you do. It was beautiful. He came tearing out of the dugout like a man who had been done wrong, like he was going to strangle somebody. He has told me that just before the umpires had called him out, he said to a teammate, if they call me out here, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. He did that. He lost his fucking mind. The reason was simple. Before the game, nobody gave a damn how much pine tar was on the bat. It had nothing to do with anything. Nobody was even sure why the too much pine tar rule was on the books. It seemed to be there just because pine tar high on the bat would soil the baseballs and make them unusable. Billy Martin, the Yankees manager at the time, was always looking for an edge, and he noticed Brett's bat had all that pine tar on it. He knew it didn't matter, but he determined that when the time was right, he would make a show and get Brett called out. When Brett bashed the home run off of Goose Gossage, the time was right, and it was a really fun show. This ridiculous Tom Brady deflated football thing should have been just as fun, according to Poznanski. But here's what Poznanski writes. Instead, the NFL, like only the NFL can do, has turned it into a boring, overwrought, legalistic front-page scandal where it resides in the New York Times prime real estate once maintained by My Lai or the fall of the Berlin Wall. Investigator Ted Wells released a 243-page report. Yada, 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 yada. The report goes to extraordinary efforts to prove that the Patriots, more probably than not, tampered with these footballs before the AFC Championship game last year. And by that standard, I guess you can call it a success. After 243 pages, there seems to be little doubt about it. All 11 footballs tested were deflated below league standards. One of the guys was caught on security camera taking the footballs into a bathroom for 1 minute and 40 seconds. The official said it was the first time, the official, Walt Anderson, said it was the first time in his career that he could not find the footballs before the game. Let me ask you something. Here's how much the NFL cared about footballs that were not exactly up to NFL league standards exactly. They allowed the entire first half to be played with footballs that they didn't know if they were or they weren't up to snuff. Now think about that. Think about this is not a fucking preseason game. This is only for the right to go to the championship, the Super Bowl representing the AFC. And the NFL allowed the entire game to be played in the first half. The Patriots, who, by the way, ended the first half up 17-7, fumbled the ball during that first half, by the way, if you don't recall. They allowed the Patriots to play the entire first half with potential defective, for lack of a better word, footballs in the first half. A first half that they led 17-7. Second half, with footballs that were just right, they outscored the Colts 28-0, and not a single of those 28 points in the second half came via the New England defense, all on offense. Give me a fucking break. Are you kidding me? How much does the NFL care about this shit? Oh, by the way, Walt Anderson on high alert going into the game, right? Right? Gotta be. Can't find the football. Says it's the first time he could never find the footballs in his entire NFL officiating career. Do you know he had a backup bag of footballs? A backup bag of footballs. Why didn't Walt Anderson go to the backup bag? These were out of my sight for a while. Jim McNally, I didn't know where they were. By the way, keep those balls. We're going to use these balls. How come Walt Anderson didn't do that? How come he didn't do that? Why? My outrage is real. This league has gone to hell in a handbag. It's over. Like this once great country is over, the NFL is toast. Toast. Oh, this man is destroyed. He's broken my heart day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. He's broken my heart. When I consider what is in our midst right now, this is a laughing stock. The NFL's a punchline. It's a bad joke told over and over again. No, we're going to play the whole first half with potentially defective footballs. Second half, perfect footballs, 28-0. 28-0. Asterisk my ass. Give me a break, would you please? Let me tell you what the Patriots are going to do. I'm not done, by the way. I just want to interject something here right now. All right? The Patriots are going to be in fuck you mode the entire year coming up. And I'll tell you this right now. If the Broncos don't win a fucking Super Bowl, I hope the Patriots do. I hope they run it up the league's ass. All right? And I dare Goodell. dare Goodell to show up at Foxborough on Thursday night opening night. I dare him to show up. He better be wearing a fucking flak jacket, I'll tell you that right now, and a bulletproof fucking vest. All right? And an Army fucking helmet is what he ought to do. And I love the hashtag that's making its way around the internet right now on Twitter. Right? Hashtag no Brady, no banner. If the NFL thinks that the New England Patriots are going to give them a show on Thursday Night Football to open the season against the Steelers, raise the championship banner, you know what the Patriots are going to say? Fuck you right here. We're not having it. When Brady's back, we raise the fucking banner. And only when Brady's back. And Brady will be back. If you think this 4-game suspension and all this bullshit is going to stand, you got another thing coming. And there's a defamation lawsuit waiting to happen. I'll get into that. Damn it, I'll get into it all. Son of a bitch. Fucking Goodell. That's all right, Zizi. That's okay. Daddy's not mad at you. That's okay. My dog is white as a ghost. It's okay, baby. Daddy loves you. It's okay. You're a good girl. Right, get the fuck away from me. Where was I? Yeah, so they play the whole first half. Got they don't know, defective balls, 17-7 at the end of the half. This is how much they care. This is how much they care about the footballs in the NFL. Boy, Poznanski makes points that I've made, and then he goes on to make points I haven't made, which are great points. Great points. Great points. Which leads us to a different question the report doesn't address. Poznanski writes as I go down a few paragraphs. He writes, the NFL doesn't care about tampered footballs. The NFL has never, and he capitalizes the word never cared about this stuff. He writes, if the NFL cared, do you think they would let offenses provide their own footballs? He says, if the NFL cared, do you think they would let quarterbacks like Eli Manning use specially prepared footballs that have been scrubbed, scoured, spun, roughed up for months and months in advance that he then brings out onto the field with him? If the NFL cared, do you think they would have a stinking do you know what the fine is? $25,000. 25 grand. Do you think they'd have a stinking $25,000 fine for altering footballs? Are you kidding? Poznanski writes $25,000. That's not even a parking ticket, he writes, by NFL standards. They give bigger fines for mispronouncing Goodell's name. And as far as anyone can tell, they've never, ever even levied that pitiful fine. The NFL doesn't care, not at all. You know why? You know why? Because as Poznanski writes so correctly, they want quarterbacks to have footballs that they love throwing, and they want receivers to have footballs they love catching. Do you know why it's even a $25,000 fine, Poznanski writes? Believe it or not, it used to be less than that. They raised it to $25,000 back in 1999. Why? Not because of quarterbacks. No, they raised the fine because kickers were doing all sorts of things to footballs, baking them, overinflating them, putting Harry Potter charms on them, all that kind of shit. Those kickers with their black magic, Poznanski writes. Listen, if you will, to this 1999 line from George Young, who then was the senior vice president of football operations for the National Football League. You ready? Write this one down. Quote, quarterbacks have complained to us about the condition of some of the balls used in the game. We want to make sure the quarterbacks are comfortable with the balls. We want to make sure that the quarterbacks are comfortable with the ball, with the balls that they use. We want to make sure of this. Want to make sure of this. That's all the NFL, Poznanski writes, has ever cared about when it comes to footballs. They want points. Lots of points. More points. Passes, receptions, touchdowns. They want quarterbacks who can light it up. They want freewheeling football. And they've never cared in the slightest about what the quarterback did to make the footballs easier to throw. They had the air rule in place, he writes, just to give some semblance of control. But the league gave a lot of leeway there. He mentions even in the AFC Championship game, they allowed Colts quarterback Andrew Luck to have a bit more air in the ball than Brady. Why? Because Andrew Luck likes it that way. It was like pine tar on a bat to the NFL. But the responses in the aftermath of the report, Brady's legacy forever stained, Brady proves to be a liar, Brady should be suspended for a year, suggest that we all might be losing our minds just a little bit here. It's a little bit of air to make a football easier to grip. If the NFL has decided that from now on tampering with the football to make it a bit easier to throw is a capital offense, fine. Change the rules. Prevent teams from doing all that stuff to make them easier for quarterbacks to throw. Hire people to guard the damn balls the way they guard the Oscar results. Have the league in charge of all the football so they know exactly that they're going to be the same for every team. And on Poznansky wrote about this. By the way, the NFL just announced, I see it here, and the media is going apoplectic about this right now. They just announced that they're removing the bust from the Canton Pro Football Hall of Fame of one Jerry Rice. Why? Because Jerry Rice admitted back in January that Jerry Rice used stickum practically his entire career on his gloves to catch passes. Is that against the rules? Is that gaining a competitive advantage? Indeed it is. I don't even give a shit about that. I don't care. Jerry, you can get away with it, do it. Now they make gloves all... I mean, these gloves that receivers wear now, I mean, they come with 1 million suction cups on them, for crying out loud. What, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You think Don Maynard was out there running like a gazelle at Shea Stadium under Joe Namath bombs with fucking gloves on his hand? Okay? You think Raymond Berry was catching passes from Johnny U with gloves on his hand? No. Jerry Rice was doing it with gloves on his hand and stick them on the gloves. They've not only removed his bust from the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, they've also taken away, he scored more touchdowns than anybody else in NFL history. They've taken 100 of those touchdowns away. It's only right, isn't it? It's only right. Where's the media outrage about this? Where's the uproar about this? You can't find it. Why? Because we have selective rage, don't we? We have selective rage. And, by the way, how many touchdown passes in Super Bowls did Jerry Rice catch? Those have been stricken from the books. In fact, the 49ers only have 2 Super Bowl wins now, according to the NFL. Get a grip. Gain some damn perspective and some damn context, will you please? This shit. But well, why don't we, you know what? Gaylord Perry won over 300 games in his marvelous career pitching for multiple teams. Gaylord Perry put snot on the ball, put Vaseline on the ball, chalk on the ball, wax on the ball, piss on the ball. I don't know what else he had on the damn ball. All I know is that he made the ball dart and dive. You ever see that film of Reggie Jackson after he struck out against Gaylord Perry one time? He wanted to rip Gaylord Perry's head off because he knew Perry was cheating. What do you want to do? You want to strip him of wins? You want to take him out of the fucking Hall of Fame? Get a grip. Get a grip. You're kidding me. This is really happening, isn't it? This is really happening right now in the National Football League, isn't it? This is really going on. And have you seen the majority of sports media people, both print and electronic, losing their fucking minds with hysteria that makes you think that these people need a psychiatric evaluation over this kind of shit? But why did Goodell do this? Dino, wait, you think about everything from all sides. Indeed I do. Indeed I do. And I look at it from the top, from the bottom, from the sides. I turn it over. And I wash it down. I look at it again. Take some notes. Analyze this, analyze that. The same media people that at one time had kissed the ass of Roger Goodell repeatedly, that carried his water, that served as a public relations extension arm in their newspapers and in their columns for the National Football League and for this commissioner specifically. Those same media members, over the last year, have done an about-face. They've done a significant about-face, and they have strayed from Goodell. And they have said, and some have called for Goodell's resignation, and they don't talk nicely about Goodell anymore, and they don't write effusively about Goodell anymore. They don't do any of that. Goodell's a little smarter than the average bear. Okay? He saw this. Why would he do this? He did this in a self-serving capacity. He did this. Fuck the NFL. Because listen, does it not make all the sense in the world to you? If you were in receipt of this information, you're Roger Goodell, you know your league is on fire, you know that your commissionership is on fire as well. Would you let something as insignificant and as minor as this become the major firestorm that would once again envelop the league, that would put it in the crosshairs of more negativity, more ridicule, more controversy, more skepticism? Would you really do this if you had the best interest of the league at heart? Of course you wouldn't. And so what compelled Goodell to say, hey, let's launch an investigation, and if it comes out even a little bit fuzzy, Goodell says, here's my chance to reach out and grab all of the people in the media who were once my friends and who have now since strayed from me. I can pull them all back in, because now I can make up all the balls that I dropped myself on the way to getting to the point I'm at right now. This is a chance for me to redo Ray Rice the right way. This is a chance for me to reestablish my authority. This is a chance for me to show the same brazen liberal media out there that loves as many things liberal as I do, that I haven't lost my moorings, that I haven't lost my fastball, that I'm still sharp as a tack. Here's a chance for me to get the Patriots or any team in a bind to come down hard, wield my Roger Goodell hammer, and at the same time get all those people who have been outside of my universe for a while now to come back in and pat me on the back and say, boy, Raj did the right thing. Now the NFL has refound its leader. Good for Goodell. He showed him. That's what a leader does. Leader? This was a self-motivating, self-serving instrument that Goodell played like a grand piano, is what he did. And he played it just right, at least in the interest of his own self-preservation and in the interests of gaining widespread kudos from the same media out there that only weeks before were calling for his head, that had criticized him endlessly after the Rice scenario. You can't fool me. You can fool some other people. You can't fool me. I see right through this thing. This thing is so transparent, it's not funny. It's not funny. No, it's a joke. It's a bad joke. It's exactly what the NFL's become. A sad, bad joke. A punchline. A punchline. I hope Brady and his representatives file and win the biggest defamation lawsuit that has ever been filed and won in any judicial system in America previous. And I believe that we do have established precedent for something just like that happening. Just like that. Why? Well, a defamation lawsuit is very hard to prove. We start there on that premise. But when you talk about defamation lawsuits as they relate to Tom Brady, listen, this defamation lawsuit was filed against the NFL by Jonathan Vilma during when the NFL fucked up the whole Bountygate thing. Okay? Jonathan Vilma filed a defamation lawsuit against the NFL. The case was eventually dismissed and thrown out. But the judge in the case down in New Orleans did make note of the fact that the NFL, she felt, handled the whole thing egregiously. And that if they had handled the entire New Orleans Saints situation with a little bit of tact, that the Vilma lawsuit never would have been filed to begin with. With all due respect to Jonathan Vilma, very fine player in the league for a number of years, Jonathan Vilma ain't Tom Brady. Now, what I mean by that is that I'm unaware that Jonathan Vilma, while a very good player in the league, was a national face anywhere near the extent that Tom Brady was and still is. All right? And so, Brady does endorsements. Brady reaps untold millions of dollars off the field through his advocacy of different services and products and so on and so forth. Well, let me ask you something. If Brady now becomes radioactive and Brady decides to sue the National Football League, sue Wells, sue Goodell, sue everybody, and his legal team can show that his earnings off the field have been dramatically impacted and affected by the fact that advertisers, marketers, products out there are hesitant to allow Brady now to become a part of their business. Well, this can be directly attributable to the fact that Brady's name has been smeared, Brady's name has been besmirched. Brady has become, as I say, radioactive. And so I hope he files the largest defamation suit ever and just reaps millions of dollars in damages as the result. As the result. His legacy. Tom Rinaldi, from what I understand, I didn't see it, but Tom Rinaldi, who I think works for ESPN, said something this morning on ESPN that Tom Brady has lost his honor. I mean, are you kidding me? Hey, Tom, stop embarrassing yourself, will you? Please stop it. Please stop it. He's lost his honor. Some saying he shouldn't be Hall of Fame eligible anymore. Others saying the sentence was too light. Too light. Morons. Each and every one of them. Morons. There's no other way I can say it. Morons. Absolute and total morons. His legacy. Tom Brady's legacy, huh? Yeah. I'll tell you what Tom Brady's legacy is. You ready? Get out a piece of paper. I'm going to tell you what Tom Brady's legacy is. You ready? Not one, not two, not three. 4-time Super Bowl champion. If not for 2 specific pass plays in 2 other Super Bowls. The Tyree catch, okay, and the other one. He could be a 6-time Super Bowl winner. A 6-time Super Bowl winner. As it is, he's won 4 Super Bowls. 4 of them. He's a 3-time Super Bowl MVP. He's a 2-time NFL MVP in 07 and 2010. He's a 10-time Pro Bowl player in 01, 04, 05, 07, 09, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. He's a 2-time first-team All-Pro in 2007 and 2010. He's a second-team All-Pro in 2005. He's a 6-time AFC champion. 6 times. 01, 03, 04, 07, 11, and 14. He's a 3-time NFL passing touchdowns leader in 02, 07, and 10. He's a 2-time NFL passing yards leader in 05 and in 07. Just for good measure, let's throw this in. He was the Sports Illustrated Sportsman of the Year in 05. He was the Sporting News Sportsman of the Year in 04 and in 07. He was the AP Male Athlete of the Year in 07. He was twice the NFL Offensive Player of the Year in 07 and 10. 3 times the AFC Offensive Player of the Year in 7, 10, and 11. He was the AP NFL Comeback Player of the Year and the Pro Football Writers Association NFL Comeback Player of the Year in 2009. He was the Burt Bell Award winner in 2007. He is the New England Patriots all-time leader in passing touchdowns, passing yards, pass completions, pass attempts, career wins, and he's a member of the NFL's 2000s All-Decade team. That, ladies and gentlemen, is Tom Brady's fucking legacy. That's his legacy. And I wish he was my quarterback. I understand the sarcasm. I understand, the little digs, Jets fans, Broncos fans, other fans. It's the Patriots. It's Brady. Kings of the Hill. I get it. I understand it. But once you get beyond that juvenile bullshit, all right, and you act like an adult, I mean, what are we talking about here? You're talking about an NFL immortal is what you're talking about here. An NFL immortal. And to see this thing go down the way it's gone down, man, and then to Think about all the other things that have occurred in the NFL where owners have not been disciplined. Other players have been able to, through the NFL's benevolence, been given second, third, fourth chances, sometimes not even fined or suspended. I mean, come on now. Come on. This should revolt, repulse, and disgust any fan who cares. Forget your team. Forget your team. This should revolt and this should repulse and disgust any fan who loves football for what it has wrought us at this specific time and day. An embarrassing, pathetic, needless, irrelevant, stupid, the stupidest of stupid scandals ever. Ever. And it didn't have to be. And Goodell did this in a self-serving way. He's the big swinging dick again who's getting all the positive press again, isn't he? Isn't he? Worked out beautifully for old Raja. They can't get rid of this fuckstick. You know what? He's been around too long. They can't get rid of him quick enough. They can't get rid of him quick enough. The NFL deserves better than what we've seen, especially the last 2, 3, 4 years. He has systematically destroyed this league. Systematically destroyed this league. And they make decisions arbitrarily. I just, whatever it feels. Okay, fine. Wait, 3 games? 4? 5? 4? You said 5. You said 4. You said 3. I'm going to go between 5 and 4. 5 and 3. How about 4? 4 good? 4 is good. 4 is good. Brady and the Patriots will appeal this. Kraft has already thrown his support behind Brady. They are going to be in fuck you mode the entire season, ladies and gentlemen. Fuck. And the last time they were in fuck you mode, it worked out pretty well for them. Didn't it? Didn't it? This bullshit. You can't text Ray Farmer, the Cleveland Browns general manager, texting down to a coach on the field. That's a no-no in the NFL. Why? Why? Why can't you do that? You mean if he had picked up his fucking cell phone and called somebody down there, he could do that? No, you can't do that either. Why? Why not? But he could have gone into the coach's room on the press box, put on a fucking headset, and talked to somebody down on the field. That's okay. You got to be kidding me. I mean, you really got to be kidding me. Broncos taping a practice when they were playing in Europe a few years ago. The Patriots taping a Jets sideline a few years ago. This is big news. What you mean to tell me you can't tape? Can't do that. But I work for the Patriots, and we're playing the Jets in 2 weeks. And Belichick sends me and another guy as advanced scouts to watch the Jets-Bills game in Buffalo this week, and the Patriots are playing the Jets in 2 weeks. And he says, Dino, you and Jim, want you to go to Ralph Wilson Stadium this Sunday and give us an advanced scouting report on the Jets, their tendencies, their patterns, what they do, so on and so forth. I say, okay, Bill, fine. That's what I'm employed for. I'm an advanced scout in the NFL. This is what I do. And then Bill Belichick says to me, but hold on, a little caveat to your trip to Buffalo to watch this game. And I said, well, what's that? He says to me, we're sending you and Jim, but we don't want you necessarily watching so much what's going on down on the field. We're sending 2 other guys for that. What do you want me and Jim to do? We want you guys to sit in the press box armed with some markers, some pads, some pens, and some binoculars. We want you to study the Jets sideline the entire game. We want you to write down everything you see them doing, especially the coaches. And we want to come up with, if we can try to find some things that they're doing that signal something that they do on the sideline, which then results in something they do on the field. If we can connect the two, we can then send, because we're going to have people watching the sideline when we're playing them, we can then send the message into the defense or the offense to look for this and this, because the Jets, when the coach does this or does this or this, means that they usually do this. What's the difference between writing it down, studying the sideline, and taping the fucking sideline? What's the difference? That's done all the time, by the way. That's done all the time. What do you want? What do you want me to tell you, folks? What else? What else do you want me to tell you? I don't know what else I can do for you. I don't know what else you want me to tell you. It's a disgrace. It's a pathetic disgrace. I'm embarrassed for the NFL. The NFL should be embarrassed for the NFL. This doesn't help the NFL. This doesn't help the NFL at all. Instead, it continues to make a mockery out of the league. It's a laughingstock. It's a punchline. It's a bad joke. That's the NFL. To say nothing of all the other, and I mean all the other things that have screwed up this league over the years since this man has been in office. I warned you about him years ago. I warned you about him. And I've been proven to be right. Without exception. I've been proven to be right. It was a dark day. Yesterday was a dark day in the history of this league. It was a dark day. Dark day. And again, if the Broncos don't win the Super Bowl this year, I hope the Patriots do, and I hope they win the game 59-0. Maybe 79-0 or something like that. Because I'd love nothing more than to watch as Goodell, that scumbag, hands another championship Vince Lombardi trophy over to Robert Kraft, and then to see Tom Brady hold that sumbitch high in the air. I don't like the Patriots. I respect the hell out of them. I don't like them at all. Man, do I respect them. Man, do I respect the job that Belichick has done there all these years. Changing casts, many different players, free agent signings, free agent losses, draft picks. He figures out a way. He figures out a way. Is what he does.